Today, we're going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons why the Angels make sense for a Shohei Ohtani return in 2024. Are we delusional? Maybe. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you would like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Angel content, here's how you can do that. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe to become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. We would love to hear from you. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. You can empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, it's our second off season here at Locked On Angels, and man, the stove is cold, Mike. We need some trades. We need some moves happening.
Kidding.
Come on. I'm sick of this. I know that there's some Rule 5 stuff going on right now, and some really intriguing players there that we will get to later on the show. But on today's show, we have an article written by our very good friend and Locked On Angels Hall of Famer, Brent Maguire, who has been writing, Mike, for MLB.com in his days since Locked On Angels. Here's what Brent had to say on Twitter, and I really thought this was great. He said, "It's hard to express how gratifying my first season with MLB was. Thanks to everyone who helped make this year happen. And for those following along this year, here's to an exciting offseason and somehow getting through 147 days until opening day." Now, that was over a week ago, but I appreciated Brent's sentiment there because, before we took over Locked On Angels, I've been a fan of his and love listening to him, and he's been a great friend to us. So congrats to Brent on his first year writing for MLB.com. Mike, he said that he might get some heat for this article that he wrote, and I appreciated the fact that he wrote it, and it was the 5 reasons why re-signing Ohtani makes sense for the Angels and Ohtani. So we thought we'd break down each of the reasons that Brent gave and then kind of respond to those along the way. And of course, we want to invite you, our listeners and viewers, into the conversation as well. So get in on the comments on YouTube or get at us on social media. Mike, hit us with reason number 1.
Reason number 1, we know Ohtani can perform at his best with the Angels. According to Brent Maguire, he said, from an individual perspective, it's hard to imagine that Ohtani could have reached his goals more convincingly in an Angels uniform. In Anaheim, he became arguably the best player in the majors and the face of the game. But remember, this outcome seemed far from certain initially. And to the Angels' credit, they stuck with Ohtani even when there might have been some doubts about his viability as a two-way player. One example would be when Ohtani was struggling at the plate in his first spring training. It prompted a lot of scouts to assert that he needed minor league seasoning to become a productive major league hitter.
Prompted Dodgers bloggers to say, dodge that one, you bozos.
Yeah, we're just going to, no matter what happens with Ohtani, we're going to keep bringing that up and keep putting that in their face, right? And the Angels did the same thing when Ohtani underwent Tommy John surgery the first time he entered the 2021 season. Johnny, with just 53 and a third big league innings under his belt. And he had that really, really terrible outing from 2019 to 2020. And he only pitched an inning and 2/3.
Yeah.
And I remember him getting rocked. And we're thinking, man, is this over? Is Ohtani not going to be the guy? Right? At that point, there was legitimate reason to think that Ohtani could have profiled solely as a designated hitter or maybe a position player. And yet the Angels not only stuck with a two-way plan, but they also freed him up from some of the restrictions that they had from 2018 to 2020. They allowed him to reach his ceiling as a two-way threat. And honestly, Johnny, Ohtani probably would have been a dominant force no matter where he signed back in 2017. However, I think it didn't hurt that the Angels gave Ohtani full autonomy to do what he needed to do. That trust and that belief, according to Brent Maguire, could help the Halos in their pursuit of Ohtani this season. And Brent did say that Ohtani could have likely been somebody that he is with another team.
Mm-hmm.
But John, I struggle with that statement, and I want to throw it to you just to get your perspective here. But do you believe that Ohtani could have Ohtani'd with another team, or do you think that it was the way the Angels treated him that allowed him to be who he was, the unicorn?
If Ohtani gets hurt and follows the same path that he did back in 2018, and then he was a DH in 2019, he couldn't get through an inning in 2020. I don't think that happens anywhere else, Mike. I don't know. I shouldn't say anywhere else. I think if there was another team that signed him that had the patience for it, Ohtani could have blossomed into who he is now.
Sure.
But I don't think it would have happened with the Yankees. I don't think it would have happened with the Dodgers. I don't think it would have happened with those teams. They would have wanted to pivot and make Ohtani just be a hitter. They would have tried him out in the outfield or what have you. But to me, I think the reason why Ohtani was able to achieve the heights that he did because he was on the Angels. And I say that because if he were to get hurt in the same way that he did in 2018 and he follows that same career trajectory, I don't think that other teams have the patience or the willingness to work with Ohtani in the same way that the Angels did. So I think had he not been hurt and he blossomed into who he is now with some other team, of course, he's Ohtani. He can do anything.
Sure.
But I think patience on the side of the Angels and fan patience as well. I don't remember seeing a lot of people write off Ohtani when those injuries happened.
No.
I remember seeing a lot of fans who were bummed because they thought, man, we want to see him achieve peak Ohtani, and we really hope that can happen. That's why I always say, Mike, where were you?
Yeah.
Giants fans, Dodger fans, Yankee fans, where were you when Shohei was going through all of this? You were pointing your finger and laughing at Ohtani, and now you want him so badly on your team.
Yeah.
Well, Angel fans, and by extension the Angels, stuck with him. And so I think that's some incentive in the Angels' pocket. Mike, reason number 2 is familiarity, comfort, and an established relationship. I think we kind of covered that established relationship part. But this is what Brent had to say. Ohtani's agent, Inez Bolello, said that Ohtani felt a strong connection with the Angels and believes they can be the best team to help him reach his goals in Major League Baseball when he first signed with the team. Things have changed, obviously, in the last 6 years, but it's possible that a strong relationship was fostered between the player and the team in that time. There's also the comfort factor. Ohtani hasn't exactly avoided the spotlight as a global star, but when it comes to conversations with the media, Ohtani is pretty guarded. He gets to speak on his terms, and that has been something that he appreciates, being part of the Angels organization. And while the Angels don't exactly play in a small market, some other teams figure to bid on Ohtani have a significantly larger media presence. And when you're a Yankee person or player, you're going to have to face the media. And I think that the pressure in New York or even up the freeway in Los Angeles, in Brent's words, is much more intense. It's no secret that Ohtani preferred a West Coast team in a smaller market when he signed with the Angels. Those feelings could still play a role here. How much of a factor is the familiarity factoring into him being here, Mike? What's your opinion on that?
Think about if you had to move to another country and learn the language and then also learn the job and then also learn how to have friends and then also how to learn to get along with your boss and get along with your coworkers, right? And Ohtani's had to do all of that when he came to the Angels, and he's got a lot of that down, and he's really kind of got this aura about him with the Angels.
Yeah.
And I think that coming back to the Angels benefits him simply because he's not going to have to learn anything. The only thing that he'll have to learn is how to win with this team. And Ohtani can do that if this team supports him in that. Really, if they grab an identity of not just trying to get to the playoffs, but they grab an identity of being a gritty, gutty team. And I think Ron Washington can bring that. But Ohtani won't have to learn anything, and he won't have to learn more of the English language, even though he's shown that he wants to. But quite honestly, I think that the familiarity piece is probably one of the strongest reasons why Shohei could and possibly would return to the Angels, because he knows everybody here, and Mike Trout is here. And now they have young guys here that look at him as the veteran and honor him, but he's also a very honorable person. And so being familiar with some of these players and being familiar with the surroundings, knowing that he can kind of come and go as he pleases and not have to talk to the media like they would in New York, and knowing that his general manager isn't going to destroy him in the media like Ryan Cashman is doing in New York with Giancarlo Stanton and those guys. I just think that a lot of the baseball reasons may not be sexy to come back to Anaheim, but I think that some of these, I'm familiar with it, I'm comfortable here, those would be the main reasons why Shohei would return in 2024.
Hearing you list out all the things that he had to do when he first got here, like learning the language well and making friends and finding a place to live, just hearing you say that in that order, I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, imagine moving to a new country to do this job. And the biggest thing he had to learn is how to navigate these dang SoCal freeways, Mike. That's the hardest part of the job.
When my family and I went to San Francisco and went to a Niner game, and then we went to Seattle a few years later, and driving around there, like, it was chaotic because I live in a smaller town and it's easy. I've been in this town forever. Driving around there, not knowing where you're going and having Siri yell at you. And I can't even imagine moving to another country, right? I can't even imagine. It's courageous, right? And what he did. And so, Ohtani, just come back to Anaheim, man. It's comfortable here, right? We want you here.
I was just making a joke, and you turned it into another selling point. So there you go. Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, do the Halos need Ohtani? Well, that's a pretty good question, and I think it's worth considering, and we're going to talk about that coming right up.
Today's show is brought to you by Jace Medical. You can take control of your medical care and treatment with a Jace case. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jace case is to fill out a online form, and in some cases, you can jump on a quick phone call with one of their board-certified physicians. Plus, you get ongoing care from their physicians on any treatment-related questions. The Jace case is doctor-created, that's important, and doctor-recommended. So it's not John and I creating it for you. It's people who have paid their dues.
You wouldn't want that.
You wouldn't want that at all.
Put some of this in there.
It'd be like graham crackers and peanut butter or something like that.
Well, you got any cough syrup in there?
Is it Diamond Tap? I need some of that. These Jace cases are created by people that know what they're doing. So don't get caught unprepared. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jace handles everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. You can get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using our promo code Locked On at checkout when you go to jacemedical.com. That's jacemedical.com, JASE medical.com.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Listen, Locked On Everydayers, the Locked On Podcast Network has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Remember the days when you could turn on ESPN and you could get some great conversation about sports from all across the sports world at any time of day? Well, they don't really do that anymore, Mike. So Locked On went ahead and did it for you.
Yep.
So now there is Locked On Sports Today. It's a 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube covering the top stories in sports from local experts. Plus, Locked On has our national shows, which cover every league, like Sully with Locked On MLB. You can go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube.
All right, Johnny, let's go to reason number 3 as to why it makes sense for Ohtani to return. And this is according to Brent Maguire's MLB.com article. Reason number 3, Johnny, is the Angels have never shied away from a big contract, have they, right? This actually would be, I think, the most important point considering Ohtani's return to the Angels, according to Brent Maguire. Angels have a history of big spending, even though it's not a great history of big spending. The Angels have already committed a significant amount of payroll in 2024, $75 million to just Trout and Rendon alone.
Mhm.
You did the estimates. I believe it was 165-ish, maybe, is what they've
Yeah,
already committed right now.
in terms of luxury tax, like going
Yes.
against the luxury tax, yeah, it's
Yeah.
about 165 million.
So that could cause some reservations about adding a massive Ohtani deal to the equation. Plus, he's not going to pitch next year, as far as we know. But if Aaron Rodgers is going to play in a couple weeks, then maybe Ohtani will be able to pitch next year. Who knows, right? At the same time, Angels owner Artie Moreno has shown his willingness to spend on the top of the market free agents for premium players, and so there is some hope that would be a main reason why he would come back. Johnny, how much do you think the money factor is playing into this versus the star factor with Shohei Ohtani?
It really exasperates me, Mike, because
Good word.
Ohtani is going to bring in revenue and has brought in revenue. The Angels have receipts for how much money Ohtani alone makes them. So they know how much he's worth, and they also know how much he's going to earn them, if not more than he's already earned them, right?
Right.
Now, the fact is, I get so frustrated when they cry poor or they won't go over the luxury tax, when in the past they've told us, we'll go over the luxury tax for the right guy.
Yeah.
And so far, the right guy has never existed for the Angels because they didn't go over the luxury tax. They briefly did when they made some trades, but they quickly tried to get back under it when the team fell apart. But Mike, Shohei Ohtani, I said this in my GM episode, he's the right guy to go over the luxury tax for. And to me, it just, to play small market like you've brought up before, it just doesn't make any sense to me because, like I said, the Angels have the receipts for how much money Ohtani makes them and will continue to make them, generating revenue. And so that offsets pretty much any cost that you have to go above and beyond for to get Shohei Ohtani. I think a long-term deal with some opt-outs for Ohtani's sake, the opt-outs are, I think that's a perfect contract for the Angels and Ohtani, because you want to have guaranteed outs for Ohtani. If Ohtani sees the writing on the wall, he has the ability to get out. If it's a long-term deal and the Angels start building back and they keep building back and add pieces one by one, like I was mentioning on my show, and you pair that up with the young guys who are hoping to take steps forward next year, you have something on your hands. It might not be next year. It might not be the year after that. But long-term, Shohei Ohtani and the Angels could really go somewhere if they do it right. I don't think they've done it right before. I think they're starting to do it right now. But again, I think that you really have to spend some money on Ohtani because he's worth every penny. And the Angels know exactly how much he's worth.
Right. Absolutely. Reason number 4, Johnny, avoiding a rival team signing him. If Ohtani doesn't end up signing with the Angels, it will hurt. And this isn't just Brent talking. This is all of us talking. It will hurt regardless of where he goes. Watching Shohei sign with a rival in the AL West like the Mariners or the Rangers or maybe a Southern California team like the Dodgers or the Padres, that's going to be tough to stomach. Those 4 teams were of the 7 finalists for Ohtani in 2017 and could be and will be in the mix again. Allowing Ohtani to leave as a free agent only for him to sign with a rival team would be so difficult, I think, for a lot of us, maybe for all of us. And I think that should add some extra incentive for the Angels to be aggressive. So, Johnny, I would love for you to finish this sentence. Ohtani cannot sign with
any AL West team that's not the Angels. Like, I do not want to face him, especially many times a year if he's with another AL West team. I don't think we have to worry about the A's. I don't think we have to worry about the Astros. The Rangers, maybe. The Mariners seem to be really interested in having him there. I don't think he goes to the Mariners because of the Ichiro ties. I think he wants to honor Ichiro and not take anything away from his legacy, which our Locked On Everydayers from Japan have kind of asserted to us and described to us. Dodgers would be really annoying. The fact that they're in the National League is a good thing because we don't have to see them all the time. But they would just be incessant about having Ohtani on their team, and that's when I will just copy and paste that, dodge that one graphic over and over again. Mike, I did see that John Morosi tweeted that there was some intrigue from Shohei Ohtani regarding the Braves. And like,
Sure.
well, of course, they're freaking one of the best teams in the world.
Did you see somebody also tweeted and said, man, if the Braves GM gets him for 10 years at $100 million because he wants to play on that team, we're doing an FBI investigation.
But I see that and I go, yes, far and away in the National League East, like get him far and away from our division, because that would just be so rough to see him on a rival team. It will be tough to see him on another team, of course, because like I mentioned, all of us Angel fans have been through a lot with Shohei Ohtani, and we watched him go through all the struggles early on and get better, and then we all got to reap the benefits of seeing him at his peak. And surely he's on his way to winning another MVP as an Angel this season. And so we got to reap the reward for that. But I wish the Angels had done more to get Ohtani to the playoffs. I think that with the right people in place, or if Artie sells the team, whoever comes in next, or if Perry can continue to do a good job, I think the Angels have something going there in the next few years. And I really hope that Ohtani can be a part of that.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the best time to get in on all of the action. App is really easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you can get involved in all of the NFL action. And I mentioned it on the show last week, Johnny. Want to mention it again. FanDuel has reached out to the Locked On bosses, and they've been so thankful for all of the Locked On everydayers that have logged on and tried FanDuel. When you do, make sure that you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon so they know that you came from Locked On Angels. FanDuel, they're the official partner of the NFL.
Okay, Mike, final reason before we wrap up today. Brent Maguire, again, friend of the pod, Hall of Famer of Locked On Angels, wrote this article for MLB.com. 5 reasons why the Angels and Shohei Ohtani make sense for a reunion. Reason number 5, the Angels need Ohtani. Here's what Brent had to say. Let me read this for you. After seeing what Ohtani did in an Angels uniform the last 3 years, it's difficult to envision how much different the team would look without him moving forward. Granted, the Angels haven't been fielding competitive teams, even with Ohtani in the fold. Despite Ohtani playing at his pinnacle the last 3 years, they topped out at 77 wins in 2021 and haven't won 80 games since his rookie year. Remember, Sosha was managing that team, Mike. But Ohtani's value and appeal transcends team success. The Angels might not be able to build a sustainable winning team with or without Ohtani, but that doesn't mean he hasn't brought unmatched value and entertainment to the team that desperately needed it in the last half decade. Despite their lack of success, Ohtani has made the Halos a team worth watching in recent years. Every Ohtani start, whether as a pitcher or a hitter or both, was instant must-see TV. For the Angels, Ohtani became an incredibly marketable superstar, the likes of which the organization has never seen. Beyond anything, Ohtani has been the attraction in Anaheim, even more than Mike Trout. Other teams could undoubtedly use Ohtani. Heck, every team should be in on the Ohtani sweepstakes, but the Angels need Ohtani. Michael, do you agree? Do you believe that the Angels need Shohei Ohtani?
This is a double-edged sword, and here's what I mean by that.
Okay.
When we talk about Ohtani as a fan, we always lean in the direction of the money issue and how much money he brings in. And that's it. We kind of land there, right? And so with him possibly not being on the team, I've been in this category. I think a lot of fans have been in this category. Like, well, maybe it's kind of like our Albert Pujols leaving the Cardinals and he's getting older and we've kind of found some reasons, found some excuses. But quite honestly, the Angels need Shohei Ohtani, not just because of the resource that he brings in, not just because of the fans he brings in, not just because of his international flair and how people are really paying attention to him. Johnny, if the Angels are going to be competitive, and if the Angels get to the playoffs, they need the clutch hitting of Shohei Ohtani. They need the clutch pitcher when he's healthy, Shohei Ohtani. We saw what he can do in the WBC, and there are so many games throughout the season, especially when they were in it, when they were playing the Rangers is one example, where he came through for them when they needed him to.
We were going back and forth with the Rangers, and then it went into extra innings, and Ohtani's like, all right, I'm ready to go home.
I'm all done.
Hits an opposite field home run in Globe Life Field and puts the Angels ahead to help them win that game. It's just so incredible.
Yeah. Well, even in the Yankee game when they were playing the Yankees, and it was, I think it was 3-1, and then he came up and hit a home run and tied the game, and just, it was the bat flip and the fist pump. And I know that we've ran through some of the numbers with his runners in scoring position numbers and his clutch numbers, but Shohei Ohtani has that ability to shift in those moments. And even if he doesn't shift in those moments, that pitcher's scared.
I was going to say, it's pretty intimidating to go up against Shohei Ohtani. And Mike Trout right behind him, right?
Yeah. And that's why the Angels need Shohei Ohtani, because they have all of these young guys. And I was blown away the other day. I was watching MLB Network, and I was watching them talk about the young guys on the team. We've got so much control of these young guys right now, and them developing into really great players is a great sign that the Angels could potentially be really, really good, and maybe really, really good this year. And having them around a Shohei Ohtani, I think would be so beneficial. And you might ask, well, how come it didn't work before? It didn't work before because you didn't have your manager and your identity and your culture. And I think that Ron Washington is the straw that stirs the drink here and allows Shohei Ohtani to be who he can be, like he was on Team Japan in the WBC. So that's why they need Shohei, and that's why I think the Angels need Shohei, not just because of the money. That's included, but I think Shohei is clutch. I think Shohei is a great leader, and I think Shohei is going to be a great influence on all of these players. And when they get to the playoffs, they're going to need somebody like Shohei in that lineup to come through for them when everybody else can't hit or when everybody else can't pitch.
Right.
Shohei comes in, and he would probably even be willing to come in and be a relief pitcher or close out a game if it's a huge game. What a utility belt that would be for the Angels. We just haven't seen it. We haven't been able to talk about it because the Angels haven't been there. So talking about it gets me really excited because, gosh, I could see Shohei being the guy that's like, whatever you need me to do, Wash, whatever you need me to do. That's why the Angels need Shohei Ohtani.
And you brought up the money thing, and we talk about it as fans because the reason why we talk about it and the kind of contract he's going to get is, like I said before, he's worth every penny. He's worth every single penny, even if he doesn't pitch next season. I'm still bullish on your idea that he's going to come back sooner than later next season. That would be a miracle. That would be so cool. And if anybody's going to do it, it's like John Cena when he came back at the Royal Rumble and nobody expected it in 2008. That's Ohtani next season.
Watch that video, by the way. That's a great
video. they cheer for him and then they immediately start booing again because it's Cena. But Mike, all of that aside, it frustrates me to no end that the Angels crammed in their studying for the big test the night before. And what I mean by that is at this year's trade deadline is when they finally decided, hey, we're going to try to be a good team and get Ohtani to the playoffs. You had 6 years to do it. Yeah. And even with 2022, knowing what he did in 2021, you didn't try very hard. And then in 2023, you tried a little harder. You did. I believe that. You got Hunter Renfroe, who, nobody really expected him to fall off the way that he did.
Right.
You got a bunch of depth, but then they all got hurt. And it just pointed to larger problems with the Angels. For years, we'd say, oh man, the Angels just need to solve their pitching problem. Then they did. Then those guys regress. Now the Angels just need to solve their depth problem. Then they did. Then all those guys get hurt. Well, now the Angels need to solve their strength and conditioning and medical staff problem. Like, it's always something with this team. And it's your fault for cramming at the last minute to try to get Ohtani to the playoffs when you should have solved all these issues years ago. And you could have been good in 2021 and 2022 and 2023, but you didn't. And the way to make it up to the fans who have stood by the Angels through all the nonsense is to bring this guy back because yes, the Angels need Ohtani. I think Angel fans need Ohtani as well.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on the YouTubes. You can check it out there. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're listening on the audio side or you're watching on YouTube, wherever you're listening or watching, come on over to YouTube, find today's episode, comment below the video, because it really helps Mike and I out. Number one, it helps out our channel a whole bunch. Hit that like button. But it also is a lot of fun to get in on the conversation with you in the YouTube comments. So reach out to us there as well. Hey, Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
We're going to do another Making the Case show where we make the
making
case
the
for the
case.
Angels to sign. I know you like to nerd out with those shows. So we're going to make the case for somebody that Angel fans really wanted. And in fact, when we did our GM shows, you and I didn't include him. Somebody questioned that, and you said, I thought about it.
I went back
really
and forth
wanted to."
on this one,
Yeah.
so I'm excited for this episode. Hit it.
So we're going to make the case for Jeimer Candelario to come to the Angels in 2024. Give the pros, give the cons, then give our thoughts tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
You know, the Tim Anderson episode was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of good conversation as well. But the reason we did it is because the Angels were rumored
Yes.
to be tied to Tim Anderson. This time, we actually get to pick a player that we really want to talk about and see be part of the Angels. So we hope you'll come back and join us for that one tomorrow. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
You know what sells John Cena's return? Is Triple H and his face in the ring. That's what sells it.
So we should get Triple H here when Ohtani returns.